Revoice Podcast Network. The mic is ours.
Welcome back to Bad Attitude, the podcast where we dive into the creative prowess behind local VCU artists. Bad Attitude was created by host/sound editor Brett Coleman and producer Abby DeCandia. In Season 3, we'll be sitting down with a variety of creatives that we hope to recognize from VCU and dive into the mind of the individual. On this 18th episode of Season 3, we're sitting down with Alexa, who is a VCU arts major focusing in painting and printmaking, currently in their junior year. Alexa exhibits art and creativity in any stage of sketching and painting. Woodworking, thrifting, and sketching are just a few of the mediums that Alexa thrives at. When I look through your Instagram, I see so many illustrations that the sheer number is just interesting, but it's also how incredibly detailed some of them are, and it's interesting to look at which ones are kind of, crammed together on the page, or which ones you have spaced out, like which ones you're prioritizing. And when you think of using sketchbooks, do you start to feel an attachment to ideas or pieces that really hit home because it's in that specific sketchbook rather than maybe a newer one?
Sometimes I feel like that's my kind of archive of little doodles. So in that way, like, I can always go back to that. But I would say that the whole thing with my sketchbook is, like, I just draw so much. Like, I like to just fill up the page a lot. So then eventually I find something that kind of sticks. So
yeah, and these sketchbooks, I feel like they don't just show your work, but they also provide, like, a memorable side to it, looking back at different points in your life. How would you say how many sketchbooks you've gone through? Like, if you could ballpark. I know that's hard to say, but
I don't know. Honestly, you would think a lot because of, like, how much I'm doodling, but it does take a little bit to fill up a page. So, I've probably been through like 5 or 6 in my life.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm like also somebody who rotates things. Like, I had a big phase of, like, carrying a little pocket notebook in my pocket everywhere, and I would fill those up. So I don't know. Yeah.
And when you think of the atmosphere for when you sketch or create art, what would you say is, like, the best mind space to be in? Like, what atmosphere?
I would say somewhere very like candid. I love, like, carrying around my sketchbook and just drawing people out and about. I like to sit in a coffee shop while I'm waiting. I don't know, I meet friends for coffee and I'll wait for them and I'll doodle, or especially in, like, critiques, I like to draw people when I'm bored. So I think, like, observation is the basis of, like, everything, and from there is where you can kind of, like, move forward.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I feel like that sketchbook like stage can be really helpful. And when you think about your process of creating art, how much emphasis do you think you put into, like, the sketchbook stage, and that really, like, helps shape together the piece when it goes to, like, the final stage?
I honestly am not someone who is, like, I would say I'm not very, like, goal setting or anything, and I think this shows in my sketchbook is, like, I don't really like to, like, sketch out my ideas before I execute them. I'm very, like, intuitive, and I'm just kind of, like, flying by the seat of my pants sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
I'm just trying to I have good intuition and I make it up as I go along. And so I think sometimes my sketchbook can reinforce that, but I kind of hate having to, like, actually draw and plan something ever. I hate doing an outline for an essay. I hate, it feels like I'm suffocating.
You kind of you're more interested in just going straight for it and it being more authentic than
troubleshooting.
I totally get that. And then this next piece I'm mentioning is, in my opinion, the most impressive piece you have, the Tegan stool. In 2023, you made a stool depicting a dog named Cooper on the top section as if he was curled up in a ball. But it's also providing a strong base with white legs that really tie the whole thing together the way it's made. So tell us the whole process of making this stool. This is, like, combining art and woodworking. It's two mediums that I really love. I love woodworking, but how was this working on this?
Very much a learning experience. I had never really woodworked before. I had stretched my own canvas before and, like, made my own stretcher bars, but I've never been, like, super good at using. I get anxious. So I've been, like power tools are a little
Yeah.
bit of a hurdle for me. But I actually, it's funny, I just whittled something for the first time.
Oh, nice.
Like 2 days ago, and I think I'm
cool.
going to be doing that this summer.
Yeah.
But the process for that was a lot about like trusting myself and then trusting like the woodshop techs. I had never, that was also, an AFO, as well as the bag that I had mentioned earlier. But that was like a lot about like, the biggest hurdle was like asking for help, I guess. I'm very independent, and I had to like do the training, and I had to get like people's, the woodshop tech's opinion on like, what was the best way to execute this. But it's really beautiful to put like so much care into an object. It was a gift for the person I was dating at the time, and so and it was like their dog, and it was kind of beautiful to like carve their dog out. And I don't know, it was really cool.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you talk about, kind of like getting used to the equipment. I totally get that. I took construction in high school, and I remember our professor was like, yeah, like you really got to like take your time with each machine. But the cool thing about it is like you learn one machine and you realize how much you can do. But when you make something like a stool, I made a stool in high school, like you learn individually what each machine does and putting them all together and where you can go from there. And that's the cool thing I like about, woodworking. And I saw that piece, I was just like, wow, I was really connecting with it. It's really cool.
Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah, really cool. And currently, now you're almost done with your junior year. You got like a week left. What are you currently working on?
I just finished a painting / like sculpture, small installation kind of thing. I like make a lot of work about queerness and like not relating to the gender I was assigned at birth. And so this is like kind of I made a alter ego, which is an alien. I made an alien shapeshifter alter ego from this planet. And they did some like evil stuff for the government that they have to reckon with, but they had to. And so anyways, I'm thinking about like this universe and thinking of like delusion as a tool. And I made a painting of kind of that environment of the alien, and then I sculpted, I whittled this like wooden thing and put it in this little sculpture I made that looked like an organ. So it was like the alien's organ.
Whoa.
And then I drew, I accompanied it with some supplemental like drawings, which were like some shape-shifting stages of the alien.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's a really cool like final project. Yeah. And are there any artists in Richmond that you'd like to shout out? Maybe some of your classmates or just people you've met that are really influential to you?
Yeah, wow. There are so many. I mean, I think you could walk into the Fab and meet like a million people who are like even like who are just working on something that you've never thought of before.
Yeah.
My best friend Rowan is such an awesome sculptor. I think like sculpture is a cool program, but I think Rowan really knows how to like do what she wants and experiment and use like the resources of the school to their fullest. Shout out Rowan, I guess. I should shout out the people. I just finished an translucent sound bed, which was an installation I did with some peers for a socially engaged media course we took through KI. It was like focused around it was focused around the ocean and the Caribbean, and so we needed a piece in response to that. So I worked with Max Biscar, amazing.
Yeah, he's been on here.
Yeah, Max.
Love you, Max.
Yeah, love Max. Love you, Max. He was my old roommate too. So.
Oh, cool. But all the KI people are the coolest. Yeah.
Yeah. So Max, Allison, and Bella were all part of my group. We did awesome.
Before we head out, you got any socials you'd like to mention to the people?
Yeah, I guess I will shout out my art account. I deleted Instagram, so you can DM me, but as Abby might know, it might take me a second to respond, but I think it's alexa.m.art on Instagram. That's where I sometimes upload my art if I'm not feeling lazy.
Alexa, well, thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. Really cool stuff you're doing,
Thank you.
Good luck in this last week. You got it.
Thank you, you too.
Then you're going to be in Colorado.
Yeah.
You're right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad Attitude is exclusively a product of VCU's Revoice Podcast Network, VCU's first student-ran podcast network. While you're at it, go check out a brand new episode of Rate This Plate with me. Thank you so much for listening to episode 18 of season 3.